Hey Mech Warriors, welcome to Bad Ben's Battletech. I'm Bad Ben, and today we're going to be building a battle mech by hand according to the rules in the tech manual. Yeah, no mega mech today. First, I just want to start by talking about why you might want to do this by hand. I think it's fun. I like it. I like math. And I like to understand what MegaMech is doing behind the scenes. I like to understand all the math. If I'm going to be using MegaMech, uh, why is my gyro that heavy or whatever like that? And I think it can just kind of upgrade your understanding of mechs and how to build them a little bit if you really understand the system behind it. So, if you want to follow along, you're going to need a copy of the tech manual. You can get it from Catalyst Labs, Catalyst Games Labs. You can go buy the PDF right now. I don't think it's very expensive. It's absolutely worth it. It's a fantastic book, not just for building mechs, but for building, aerospace fighters, dropships, what else? Battle armor, infantry, tanks. Honestly, I think almost anything you can imagine, any unit that there is, you can build it. I don't know if the tech manual has everything. I'm not gonna say if it does or it doesn't, but it has a lot, and it's absolutely worth getting, not only for mech building. But if you want to build a mech today with me in this video, then I would really suggest you go and get one. Second of all, you might want to get a spreadsheet. You don't have to get a spreadsheet for this, absolutely. You can just write it all down by hand. I find a spreadsheet is really makes it a lot easier. Of course, you have to go set up the whole spreadsheet. And here in these columns, I have sums for all the parts up here. Here as well, here as well, here as well, here, here, and here. And so anytime I put in the weight, it'll just add that up for me in the equipment list, or in the total weight column, it'll add that up for me. Yeah. If you don't know how to do that, it's really easy. You type in equals sum, put in the first parentheses, and then all you have to do, once you've done that, is just select all of the cells that you want, and it'll put the rest of the information in. You press enter, and it's pretty easy if you don't know how to do that. That's how it works on LibreOffice. I haven't used Excel. I don't know. I imagine it's not all that different. And so yeah, if you want to make a spreadsheet, you can just pause it and copy everything that I have here so that you can follow along. And we'll get started. Today I'm going to be building a mech that I've already built. I didn't want to be fumbling around with numbers and stuff, because this stuff can get fiddly towards the end. You have an extra half ton and you need to find a weapon that is going to fit in the space and blah 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 blah. So I've already built this mech. And yeah, I guess the first step is really just deciding what kind of mech do you want. What era do you want your mech to be in? That actually makes quite a big difference. This book doesn't really tell you about this. This is going to give you all the current equipment that is possible on a mech. Actually, I'm not so sure because it doesn't talk about extra light engines, as far as I know. Maybe it does. But this has all of the stuff as of, I don't know, 3067 approximately. It has all the clan stuff. It's got all of the advanced inner sphere stuff, um, so on and so forth. But yeah, first of all, we're going to decide what kind of mech do you want to build. Does it want to be a scout? Do you want it to be a skirmisher or more of a brawler, juggernaut, tank kind of thing? Or indirect fire, fire support mech? And, that will determine how many tons you want your mech to be. Your mech can be from 20 to 100 tons in 5-ton intervals. So 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and so on and so forth, all the way up to 100. Your mech tonnage really does matter a lot. A big mech is going to be slower. Fast mechs are going to be faster, so your scouts are going to want to be light mechs. I'm sure you probably know all of this stuff if you're into Battletech at all, and if you're at the point where you want to build your own mechs. So I don't need to get into that. Choosing your tonnage, yeah, that's an important part. And for my mech that I want to build today, I want to first of all say it's going to be in the latest era, in the Ill Clan era, 3151. Or I don't know when exactly it starts, but I'll put my mech, it's going to be built in the year 3151. I can actually already put that in 51. And since it's in the Ill Clan era, in the spirit of the Ill Clan era, because as far as I know, the idea is all clan technology is, ubiquitous. You can get it anywhere. So any great house could use Mad Cats now if they want. Everything you can kind of mix and match as you like. That's my idea of the spirit of the Ill Clan a little bit, which I love. And in that spirit, it's going to be a mixed inner sphere tech base. I can actually already put that in under tech base here. Mixed IS. Mixed inner sphere. So it's going to be an inner sphere mech that is going to be using a lot of clan technology. And it's going to be using, I'm going to try to put a lot of kind of advanced equipment on this mech. What I want is it's going to be a melee mech. I'm going to give it a hatchet because I love hatchets. It's one of the most fun things to use. I'm going to give it triple strength Myanmar. If you don't know about triple strength Myanmar, if you have triple strength Myanmar on your mech, once you get your mech up to 9 heat, it increases the walk speed by 1. And your physical attacks, I don't know about all physical attacks, but physical attacks generally get doubled in strength. So your kicks do double, and hatchets definitely do double. So this is going to be, he's going to have some triple strength Myanmar. He's going to have a hatchet. We all know the problem of melee. Getting close, What's the point of putting a hatchet on a 95-ton mech that can go like 2-3? He'll never get close enough. It'll never get close enough to attack anything. So this mech is going to be mobile. Also, with a lot of advanced clan tech like extra light engines and things, I'm going to be able to put quite a bit of armor on this mech. As well, which it should have if it's a melee mech. It's going to be into the thick of the battle. I want it to be heavily armored. The Where it's going to have to lack a little bit is in firepower. Um, weapons. I know that I want to give it triple strength Myanmar, so it's going to probably have a lot of laser weapons to try to get that heat up, and not as many heat sinks. Probably still use double though. And yeah, we're gonna make a pretty cool mech. I like this mech. So, highly mobile melee mech set in the year 3151. I've already come up with a name for this. It's called the Ogun. Ogun is an African god of fire who wields an axe or maybe a sword sometimes, depending on which story you read. I actually should know more about the religion and so on and so forth, but it's an African god, the Ogun. 3151 mixed IS type biped. This spreadsheet set up here isn't set up for quad mechs. It's set up for bipeds. If it were to be set up for quad mechs, I would have to change this field and this field and this field. Oh, this is going to bother me. Capitalize the A. I like everything the same. So this would be like front left leg and front right leg. And you could do that. You could just change that and use the columns for quad mechs and so on. But I'm not going to be doing quad mech. Most people don't usually make quad mechs. Bipeds are standard, so we're just going to do biped. I know this mech's going to be 55 tons. That's going to give me a good balance of mobility, armor protection, stuff like that. I forgot my cheat sheet. Oh, where is it? Come here. Mech building cheat sheet. I kind of skipped over a few steps already. And this is it. Step 1, 2, 2.1. This is actually straight out of the book. I just copied it from the PDF. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But they don't say here anything about enhancements, and 5.1 is do your heat sinks now, because they say add additional heat sinks in step 3, but also mention that you might want to come back to heat sinks after you've installed your weapons to know exactly how many you want, and so on and so forth. These are just a few of the calculations that we're going to be using to determine, engine rating, your gyro weight, mask calculations. This is for mask. How many free heat sinks are you going to get in your engine? What's the calculation for that? Armor tonnage of, actually this is a really good, I've put the numbers for light ferro and inner sphere ferro, clan ferro, heavy ferro all right in there, and it makes doing the armor later easier. So then complete the record sheet. Actually, for me, complete the record sheet. This step means go take all of this information that I'm going to collect here and plug it into MegaMech. That's going to print me a really nice PDF that I can just use in my games. I can print that out then. And it'll tell me if I made any mistakes, which I do often, because there's actually, it's a thick section. There's a lot to remember. But if you got the book and you're following along in the book, I might not be doing this exactly as the book says. I'm basically going to be following these steps. So I've already gotten into the first step. Design the chassis, basically. What kind of mech do you want? Determine the mech's technology base. I did that. Tech base is mixed inner sphere. It can also be inner sphere. It can also be clan. It can also be mixed clan. I don't know what the difference between mixed clan and mixed inner sphere is. Yeah. This book, if you're reading it, if you have the same one I have, which I think is the 6th printing, it says nothing about mixed inner sphere mechs. It'll tell you have to choose inner sphere or clan. But I know that mixed is possible. Mega Mech will even let you make mixed inner sphere mechs. And the only rule that you have to follow is just disregard technology base, essentially, and pick exactly the thing you want, whether it's inner sphere or clan, right? So that's all you really need to do if you want to make a mixed inner sphere. I don't have a row here for Omni. There could be an Omni. You could say yes, it's an Omni. No, it's not an Omni. For the building of your mech, I find saying it's an Omni or not really doesn't make any difference. You just do the same things, and then you make 2 different record sheets, one that has all the weapons and equipment, and one that has none of the weapons and the equipment, which is fairly easy to do. Afterwards, you can just say, and you can just go put in whether it's Omni or not in MegaMech later. Yeah, I think if you're determined you want to do this by hand afterwards, if you don't want to go put everything into MegaMech, you want to actually fill in by hand on your record sheet, I think there's just a checkbox that says Omni. So, yeah, I kind of disregard whether it's an Omni mech or not. Maybe I shouldn't do that, but you can also put something here that says Omni, and whether it is or not. It's not an Omni mech. This isn't going to be an Omni mech because it's pretty purpose built. I don't think it would be a good Omni mech. It has a hatchet, it has triple strength Myanmar built in for the purpose of getting close quickly and doing damage. You wouldn't want to fit a bunch of low heat weapons onto it because you'd never get the triple strength Myanmar activated, or you wouldn't want to put a bunch of long range weapons on it either because it's meant to get up close. It's highly mobile. So I don't think it needs to be an Omni-Mech. This won't be an Omni-Mech. That's enough about Omni-Mech. So, design the chassis. What have I done? Technology base, done. Weight, done. 55 tons. Type, biped or four-legged. I wrote in biped. And internal structure. What kind of internal structure do we want? Do you want standard internal structure? Do you want endo steel? Do you want clan endo steel? Or inner sphere endo steel? And that takes us to the first table, which you can find on page 47 of the tech manual. I'm not going to be showing the tech manual on the screen here, or any of the tables. You should go buy that yourself. I don't want to be flipping back and forth all the time. I find that annoying. So we have our first table. On the leftmost column, you have total mech tonnage, 20 to 100 in 5-ton intervals. Simply go down to the mech that you choose. I want a 55-ton mech. And I can see the next column over is going to tell me how much is that going to weigh if I have standard structure. How much is that going to weigh if I have endo steel? I do want endo steel. I want endo steel in this mech. It's an advanced mech for an advanced age. And I want it to be clan endo steel. Clan endo steel is great. For the weight, it's not going to make a difference. Clan endo steel and inner sphere endo steel is the same in weight. What does change is the amount of internal slots that's going to take. We'll get to that in just a moment. First, I want to take a look at the weights. And here's one of the first things. This isn't essentially important, but it's kind of an example of why knowing the math behind Mech, or behind the whole system of how it's done, can maybe help you improve a little bit. If you're looking at this table in Tech Manual, page 47, the table is called the Battletech Internal Structure Table. And you look at endosteel column, you'll see that the endosteel for a 55-ton mech weighs 3 tons. The endosteel for a 60-ton mech also weighs 3 tons. And you can see that's the same for every endosteel. If you have a tonnage ending in a 5, right, it's going to be the same tonnage as the next step of 5 tons above you. So 55 is the same as 60, 65 is the same as 70. That's a minor difference, but it is a difference. So a 60-ton mech using endosteel is actually going to have a slight, very slight, advantage over a 55-ton mech using endosteel. They're both going to have the same tonnage internal structure, and that is less of a percentage of the internal structure of a 60-ton mech than it is of a 55-ton mech. So when it comes to endosteel, and I say this is a slight thing, if everything else doesn't matter, if there's no other criteria that need to be met, that, okay, therefore you need a 55-ton, maybe, if you say, I really want endosteel, it might be worth it to go up to that 60 tons. You're going to get a little more bang for your buck. I am going to stick with the 55-ton mech because of other reasons that we'll get to later, namely jump jets. And there are big advantages of being a 55-ton mech over a 60-ton mech. 60-ton mech is a heavy, 55-ton is still a medium, and that does actually make some difference down the line. So we know our tonnage of internal structure. So here's my weight table over here. I know my entire weight is going to be 55. I'm going to be a 55-ton mech, so I can put that up here. My internal structure, if it's a 55-ton mech and I have an internal structure of endosteel, it's going to be 3 tons. Also on this chart is going to show me what my internal structure for each section is, each part of my mech. And so I can come up to this table and I can fill out this entire table right now. 55-ton mech gets 3 head points, same as every single mech. 55 gets center torso of 18. Each of the torsos is going to have an internal structure of 13. My arms are each going to have an internal structure of 9. And the legs each have 13 points. So these are points of armor. And 13. Why is that bold? Meaning I have a total internal structure points of 91. That's not a number that we're actually going to need to use at any point later on. It's really not that important. So I know all my structure points. What I don't know yet is the space. How much space does my endosteel steel going to take up? If it's standard, right, it's not going to take up any. If it's endosteel, it will take up different amounts. Where I don't know where the table for this is. Yeah, but clan endosteel takes up 7 internal slots, whereas inner sphere endosteel takes up 14 internal slots. So you do need to add that to the space. This is my space table. All my internal slots. I already know I have 16 actuators on a mech. All mechs come with 16 actuators. You can remove some actuators. You can remove your hand actuators, and you can also remove your lower arm actuators, which will free up a total of 4 extra critical slots. You can't remove the lower arm actuators without also removing the hands. So you can get a little bit of extra critical space there. Therefore, you would have 12 actuators in total, 4 in the legs, each of the legs, and then 2 in each of the arms. And that comes with its own advantages and disadvantages. If you don't have your lower arm or hand actuators, I know a mech can flip its guns backwards, which is an excellent ability to be able to do. But I also know that if you don't have lower arm or hand actuators, you can't hold a hatchet in your hand, and it makes melee much more difficult. I am making a melee mech, so I want to keep all my actuators. I want all 16. All right. I know that my internal structure will take up 7 space. It weighs 3. I have all of the numbers for it. I have clan endosteel. On this table also, if you're looking at it on page 47, it will tell you your max armor for your weight class. It's the last column all the way on the right, and it will have 2 numbers. If you're making a biped, you're going to want the number before the slash. If you're making a clan mech, you use the number after the slash. I'm making a biped mech, meaning my maximum armor is going to be 185 points. And that just happens to be exactly double of all of my internal structure, right? The max armor any location has is double the points it has in its internal. So, for example, my center torso, front and back, can have a maximum of 36 armor. Head always gets 9 armor on the outer structure and 3 internal structure. So that doesn't really matter. That doesn't really count. But if I doubled all of these numbers, I would get 185. And you're saying, well, no, you wouldn't. You get 182. Well, there's 3 more because of the head, right? Because it doesn't follow that. And so my maximum armor that I can put on this mech will be 185 points. So let's come to my cheat sheet, see where we are. What have we done? Battle mechs, technology base done, weight done, type, and internal structure done. Step 2, install engine and control system. Control system means gyro. So install engine and gyro. Engine is a really easy calculation. You can see it right here. Your engine rating, that there, equals your weight times your walk speed. So whatever you want your walk speed to be, multiply that by the weight of the mech. So in my case, I have a 55-ton mech, and I want it to go 5.8. So I want its walking speed to be 5, and so 55 times 5 is going to give me an engine rating of 275. Now, if you come into your book and you look at page 49, you have the master engine table. And this is going to tell you, this is a bit of a complicated table. You can ignore the columns that say ice, cell, fission. The only ones we want are comp, standard, light, and XL. See, they don't have XXL engines in there. So we're going to come to, what did I say, 275. I find engine rating, 275. It's on the right-hand table. And I'm going to find its tonnage for different types. You have compact, for me would be 23.5. Standard would be a 15.5. Light would be a 12, and extra light would be 8. This is the same both for inner sphere extra lights and clan extra lights. It's the same number. And I know I want a high-tech mech. I want to put a lot of cool stuff on here. So I am going to be taking a clan extra light engine type. So it's going to be clan extra light is my engine type. And that doesn't matter for the weight, because whether it's inner sphere or not, just that it is extra light. But the weight, I can come over here and I can put 8 tons, because that's what it says on the table for the weight of a clan extra light 275 rated engine. I can put my engine rating in here, 275. Weighs 8. Now the space. I come over to my space table. Engine. How much space does a clan extra light take? It takes 10 critical slots. An inner sphere extra light takes 12 critical slots, and that's the difference between clan and inner sphere extra light. A light inner sphere light takes what does it take? 10. An inner sphere light is also 10. So an inner sphere light is the same as a clan extra light. And then the compact, I believe, takes 4, but is heavier therefore. I almost never use compact engines. It does protect your engine from crits, and having an extra light engine also protects it from crits. Extra light engine does not protect it from crits. It makes it vulnerable to crits. I don't know what I'm talking about here. Yeah, but that's a risk you take, risk mitigation. The inner sphere extra light is the worst one, because it's going to have 3 engine slots on any side torso, meaning if you lose that side torso, your mech is done. You can only take 3 engine hits, and that would be it. With the clan, you only lose 2 engines, because there's 6 in the middle and 2 on each torso, giving a total of 10 slots for the clan extra light. And if you lose one of your torsos, you take 2 engine hits, but you're still in the game. It's going to be a lot of heat, but that's how it is. I like the clan extra lights. They give you a lot. It's a lot. It's almost half the weight, right? And if you see, actually, if you're looking at the table, you're looking at, for example, 275 rated engine extra light, you see that it's 8, and a 280 rated engine also weighs 8, and you say, oh, why don't I take a 280 engine. You can't take a 280 engine. It's based, you got to remember, it's based on your weight times your walking speed. So I have a 55-ton mech. I don't think I can get a 280 rated engine. So that, you could say, okay, the 280 rated engine has a slight advantage over the 275 because both the extra light versions both weigh 8. But a 280, yeah, you simply can't use it on your mech. It's not, you can't just say, I'm going to bump it up to 280. That's not going to give you any extra speed or anything. So, you stick with the 275 because it actually doesn't make any difference. You can't use a 280 rated engine. So, what do I have? I have the engine. I have it's taking up space. I have that's its space here. I have its weight here. I know it's going to be a Clan Extra Large 275, and it's going to give me a running speed of 5.8. So that's my walking running speed. I think that covers the engine. I think the next thing it said control systems. So gyro, we got to install the gyro. Gyro's super easy. There are different gyro types. You can take, I believe there is heavy duty, there is compact, there is an extra light version, and there's going to be a standard. And you're going to use this multiplier if you want one of those gyros. The calculation for a gyro, the gyro weight, right, is you're going to take your engine rating, you're going to divide it by 100, and you're going to round up. That's going to give you your standard weight, all right? Then you can come to the master gyroscope table on page 50, master gyroscope, and so you would take that number and use the multiplier for it, right? So how do we get it? The gyro weight is my engine rating, which happens to be that number there, right? 275 divided by 100, I already know what the number is, 2.75, rounded up to the nearest full ton, giving me 3 tons for a standard gyroscope. If I were to take an extra light gyroscope, I would multiply those 3 tons by 0.5, giving me 1.5, and would bump it up to a 2-ton gyroscope. If I took a compact, I'd have to take my 3 and multiply that by 1.5, which would give me 4.5, bumping it up to a 5, and I would have a 5-ton gyroscope. All right, and then there's also a heavy duty, which is simply double. My 3-ton gyroscope would turn into a 6-ton gyroscope. There on the table, it also tells you the slots occupied of all the gyros, and it also tells you that all the gyros must be in the center torso, which is fine. I'm going to stick with the standard. I think a standard's good. Extra lights can give you a little extra space, but I know, because I've done this mech before, I'm going to be tight on space, and those extra lights take up 6 slots instead of the regular 4 slots for a standard gyroscope. So I'm going to stick with the standard, which is going to give me a 3-ton gyroscope. I can write here, gyro type is going to be standard. You could also write extra light or compact or heavy duty there. My weight of my gyro, I said, was going to be 3 tons. The gyro, it's a standard gyroscope. That always takes up 4 critical slots. So I can put that information right there. And that's how you do gyros. What was there? Something about gyroscopes, too. the way you... It's not all that important. Right? I have a little... no, mech building. Cheat sheet. That wasn't it. What did I... Battletech. Is it my record sheets? No. I don't know. All it really said was because of the way that gyros are calculated, you take that engine rating and divide it by 100 and you round up. What it's going to mean is a lot of mechs are going to have the same weight of gyroscope. And therefore, if you're using a gyroscope, for example, a 45 or a 50-ton mech might have is probably going to have the same. I can tell you is going to have the same because it's the engine's going to be slightly lower if I have the same walk speed, and the calculation will probably come out to something about 2.5, and that'll get rounded to 3. And so a 50-ton mech has a slight disadvantage in gyro weight than maybe a 55-ton, or maybe it's the 55-ton that has a slight disadvantage over a 60-ton mech, and they're both going to have the same the same gyroscope weight, meaning that the lower mech is going to be paying a little more for its gyroscope than the slightly heavier mech. I don't find that really makes any big difference, and I'm not going to change the walking speed or the weight of my mech just to accompany maybe an extra ton or half ton probably that I get because I get the best deal on a gyroscope. That's not really all that important. So my gyroscope is control systems, engine writing, I got it, type, got it, size, type and size, it's going to be a Clan Extra light, it's a 275. Add cockpit and jump jets. Cockpits are pretty easy. There's two different types of cockpits. There's a standard cockpit and there's a small cockpit. I pretty much always take a standard. A standard cockpit weighs 3 tons, so I can already put that in here. Standard cockpit weighs 3 tons. A small cockpit only weighs 2 tons. For the space that a cockpit takes up, it is going to take 5 critical slots. A small cockpit only takes 4 critical slots. You might say, why don't you take a small cockpit? Well, because then you get a +1 to all your piloting skill rolls, and I really don't like that. Standard cockpit is fine. For what I want to do, it's fine. So cockpit, that's really easy. Just write standard in here, and then however much weight and however much space that type of cockpit takes. The tables for which are on page 52, Battle Mech cockpit table, right? It has all the information you need. The 5, it's going to have in the head on the record sheet, it will have 1 slot that says cockpit, but it also comes with 2 slots that say sensors, 2 slots that say life support, meaning you get 5 slots in total. The small cockpit only has 1 sensor slot, meaning it's only 4 slots in total. But I really don't like the small cockpits. +1 to all my piloting skill rolls is bad generally. All right, where are we in this? Cockpit and jump jets. All right, jump jets. Jump jets. I said I want a highly mobile mech, and I think jump jets are gonna help it do that, there are two types of jump jets, and there are regular jump jets and there are improved jump jets. I said I want a pretty high-tech mech, and improved jump jets are going to give me more mobility than regular jump jets. Improved jump jets, if you don't know, you can put as many jump jets as your running speed if they are improved. If you put standard jump jets, you can put as many jump jets as your walking speed. So, of course, it comes with a cost. They're double the weight and double the slots, I do believe. So jump jet type, I want on this mech improved jump jets, and I want 8 of them. 8 improved jump jets. Now, if we go to the jump jet table, which I can't find at the moment, jump jet table, jump jets on page 51, you will see how much your jump jets are going to weigh and how many slots they take up are going to depend on the tonnage of your mech. So, if you're looking at the table, a 55-ton mech pays 0.5 tons per standard jump jet and 1 ton, 1 critical space. And this is a big reason why I wanted a 55-ton mech rather than a 60-ton mech, because if I had simply a 60-ton mech and I put jump jets on, each jump jet weighs 1 ton. A 55-ton mech can get away with jump jets that weigh only 0.5 tons. So a 60-ton mech with jump jets is getting the worst deal basically for jump jets. It's going to be paying the highest amount of its tonnage for its jump jets, for the tonnage of the jump jets, whereas a 55-ton mech is basically getting the best deal you can get on jump jets. It pays the same amount of tonnage per jump jet as a 20-ton mech, this is actually fairly significant. This would stop me from putting jump jets on a 60-ton mech, for example. It might even stop me from putting jump jets on a 20-ton mech, because they're getting the worst deal on the half-ton jump jets, right? Maybe it doesn't really matter. Maybe you don't want jump jets at all. And if you don't, it really doesn't matter. But for me, 55-ton mech is very important if I want to put on a lot of jump jets. I'm going to be paying a lot less weight than if I was a 60-ton mech. So they are improved jump jets. For my weight, each improved jump jet for a 50-ton mech weighs 1 ton. And it takes up 1 slot. 1 ton. Yeah, I don't have 1 of them. I have 8 of them. So it's going to be 8 tons for my jump jets here. For the space, each improved jump jets takes up 2 critical slots, meaning that's going to take up 16 critical slots. Regular jump jets at this tonnage would be 5 tons each, meaning it would only be 4 tons that I'd have to pay for my jump jets, and they each only take up 1 slot, so that would only be 8 slots for this mech. Basically double for improved jump jets. However, being able to jump 8 is really, really excellent. Especially in urban environments or heavily forested environments and stuff like this. This mech is going to be deadly. Another interesting fact about improved jump jets is they only do half as much heat per hex moved as regular jump jets. So if I were to jump 8, that actually only creates 4 heat for my mech. I really like these improved jump jets. They are fun. So we have jump jets in space. We have jump jets weight. We know they are improved. We know how many of them. I think we're done with jump jets. And that would be the end of step 2. I have installed the engine and gyro. That is the control system. I've determined its engine rating, its type, and size. Its size would be 10 slots because it is an extra light. I've added the cockpit and I've added jump jets. Now on to step 2.1, which isn't in the book. They don't mention this anywhere. Enhancements. Now this is where you're going to be adding mask or triple strength Myanmar. For my mech, I'm going to be adding triple strength Myanmar. Triple strength Myanmar, to add that is actually pretty straightforward. Simply write, I'm going to write TSM for triple strength Myanmar right there. The weight of triple strength Myanmar is 0. It doesn't weigh any more than standard Myanmar. So it's going to be 0 for my weight. For the space, it takes up triple strength Myanmar takes up 6 slots. Now, if I was going to be putting mask, if I wanted to put mask on my mech instead, it's going to be a different calculation. It's going to be the slots and the tonnage will be the same, and the number that you get will be your mech's tonnage, or it will be 5% of your mech's tonnage for an inner sphere mask, and it will be 4% of your mech's total tonnage for a clan mask. So, for example, if I had a 55-ton mech, and I wanted inner sphere mask, I would multiply it by 0.05 to give me 2.75 rounded up. It would be 3 tons, and it would be 3 critical slots. If I wanted a clan, I would do 55 times 0.04, and that would give me 2.2. So it would only be 2 critical slots and 2 tons for the clan mask. I don't want mask, I want TSM because it makes my hatchet blows double as powerful, and I can't wait to do that. So my enhancement TSM, I have the weight for my enhancement, which is 0, and I have the space for my enhancement, which is 6. That's all I need to write about enhancements. Move on to the next step. Add additional heat sinks. So we'll talk about heat sinks, but you might have noticed I added a step 5.1, which isn't in the book, which is do your heat sinks now. Because adding additional heat sinks is annoying before you've installed your weapons. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the heat sinks. We have 2 different types of heat sinks. We have standard and you have double. You have inner sphere standard and clan standard, I think, are both identical. I don't think any clan mechs use single heat sinks. Double heat sinks differ in the amount of space each heat sink takes. So an inner sphere heat sink takes up 3 critical slots but weighs 1 ton, and a clan heat sink takes up 2 internal slots and weighs 1 ton. I know that I want clan double heat sinks, and here I have heat sink space free. So I'll talk about heat sinks right now because it is important. Every mech gets 10 free by weight heat sinks. Okay? You might have 10 free by space. You might have less than 10 free depending on your engine type. And if we come over to my little cheat sheet here, we can see heat sink free space. Free heat sink space is what I have written right here. And that equals your engine rating. Mine would be 275. I've got it written right there. That's my engine rating. Divided by 25 and rounded up. Free heat, and that will give me my free heat sink space for this engine. So I simply take 275 divided by 25 is 11. I don't need to round anything. So what does that mean? It means my engine holds, because of the size of my engine, it holds 11 heat sinks. And these are, if I'm taking clan double, these are clan double heat sinks as well. They are all clan double heat sinks. If I was taking single heat sinks, these would all be single heat sinks. So I get 11 free by space. So I can have 11 heat sinks, and I don't have to write anything here. I can get, in my space table, I can get 10 free heat sinks by weight here, right? I think I know already, right? I wrote here, there's a row that says number of heat sinks / your cooling. So how many heat sinks and how much is that going to cool you, right? Because it's going to be different if you have single heat sinks or double heat sinks, right? Single heat sinks only take away 1 point of heat in a round, whereas a double heat sinks takes away 2 points of heat per round. I already know because I've already made this mech, but you can put in 10 here already, and I know that's going to give me 20 cooling, right? If I have 10 double heat sinks, this number isn't the amount of heat sinks I have. This is only the amount that I could have space free, right? That can fit inside the engine and don't take up any extra critical slots on my mech. That's not, I don't have 11, I have 10, and that's going to give me a cooling of 20. You might want to just do this now to have it in, and then come and reconfigure your heat sinks later, because depending on what weapons you take, how much heat they're going to do, maybe you're going to want more heat, maybe you're going to want less heat than you think. So that's heat sinks for now. Add additional heatsink number, type, and location if necessary for the battle mech's heatsinks, right? I hope I explained that. You can go read it in the book. You always get 10 free by weight, 10 free tons of heatsinks, and depending on your engine size, divided by 25 rounded up, is how many you get for free space that won't take up any extra critical slots. Just as an example of that, let's say if I took 13, let's say I took 13, what would that look like? I had 13, that would give me a cooling of 26, because they're each double. 13 times 2 is 26. I would have 3 more than I'm allowed by weight, so meaning my heat sinks would take up 3 tons, right? But only 2 more than I'm allowed to have in the engine. So I have 2 double heat sinks that can't fit in the engine, and they would have to come over here. And since they're double heat sinks, they each take up 2 slots. I have 2 of them. That would be 4 slots that would take up in my mech, just as an example of how to do that. That's not the case. Right now I have 0. I'm just going to leave these blank because I don't. You might not necessarily know how many heat sinks you want at this point, right? So what are we doing now? Heat sinks, add armor, right? Amount and weight of armor and allocate the armor points. So we already did max armor. I can have 185 points of armor. On my cheat sheet is a whole bunch of good information about how we do this. If you want to know, what we want to know is how many tons of armor am I going to put on my mech? How many points of armor is that going to give me? Okay? If you're going to be using ferrofibrous, that gives you more points per ton of armor. So you can, it will allow your mech to be more heavily armored for less weight. Ferrofibrous, however, also if you want to put it on your mech, is going to take up internal slots, right? Here I have for armor, this would be if I'm using some kind of ferrofibrous, whether it be clan or inner sphere, light, or heavy. Ferrofibrous takes up different amount of slots. And yeah. I didn't mention about when I was talking about mask and triple strength Myanmar, the table for that is on page 52. There's the Battletech, mask, and TSM table, and that will explain how many slots, how much weight it has. Additional heat sinks. You have the heat sink table on page 54. It'll tell you, the difference between singles and doubles, clan, inner sphere, so on and so forth. We have add armor. Add armor. And we have the battle mech armor table on page 56. And here is where you'll see all the how many points. Well, it doesn't just tell you. I wish it would just tell you how many points of armor you get per ton. And then you can just calculate it there. It doesn't. It only gives you a base multiplier. So the base multiplier for standard is going to be 1. The base multiplier for light ferrofibrous is 1.06. Right? So it's 1.06 times the number of points that standard armor gives you. And so if you want to find out this number, which is an annoying number to always have to be doing, so I already wrote them all down. Standard armor gives you 16 points of armor per ton that you put on. If we want to find out how much light ferrofibrous, how many points does light ferrofibrous give us per ton, you have to take this number, 16 times, and it says 1.06 on the table. And so you actually get 16.96 points per ton of armor that you put on your mech. I know that I don't want ferrofibrous armor on this mech, mainly because I'm already running low on space. See? I have 78 in total. I get 64, leaving me with 14 more. My equipment is going to take up a significant amount of that. A hatchet is going to take up a lot of space. So I don't have a lot of space to work with here, right? My armor is going to be standard, and that's going to take up 0 space. I can write in here, armored type, standard. Weight. That's what I want to find out. How many armor points? How much weight? Okay, weight of my armor. And if I look here, I have 185. I know that I want standard armor. So I'm going to divide 185 by 16. What does it get me? It gives me 11.56. So what does that mean? I have to round that. That gets rounded up. So that would be rounded up to 12. That would mean I can put 12 tons of armor on my mech, and that will give me my maximum amount of armor. If I want 185 points of armor on my mech, I'm going to have to put 12 tons of armor on, okay, of standard armor. But I can see by this result here, 11.56, I'm wasting armor, okay? 12 tons, 12 tons doesn't actually give you 185. Let's see how much does 12 tons actually give you? 12 times 16 should give me 192 points of armor, but I can't put on 192 points of armor. I can only put on 185. If I wanted that full 85, I would still need to put on 12 tons of armor. So that's 185. That's 7 points of armor wasted, right? For that extra half ton, that extra, and armor can be put on in half ton increments, right? Okay, so what if I didn't put on 12 tons? What if I took off a half of ton? Like 11.5 tons of armor. I know my armor is going to be 16 points. If it was different, I have it all written down here. This is the amount of points that light ferrofibrous gives you per ton. This is the amount that inner sphere ferrofibrous gives you per ton. This is the amount that clan inner sphere ferrofibrous gives you per ton, and this is how much heavy ferrofibrous gives you per ton. So there's all those numbers there. You don't need to look at this, what is it, the Battletech armor table, and do all these calculations. And stealth I didn't include here because it has no multiplier. It's still 16 points per ton. It's the same as standard. So what did I say? Let's take a half a ton armor off and see 11.5. How much armor is that going to get me? If I put 11.5 tons of standard armor, how much am I going to get? I'm going to get 184 points. Oh, what did I do there? That was silly. If I put 11.5 times 16, I get 184 points of standard armor, and that's only 1 point less than my max armor. To get my max armor, to get that one extra point, just one more point, I would have to pay a whole half ton, which usually should give you 8 points per half ton. So it would be really silly for me to put on 12 tons of armor. I'm going to stick with 11.5 tons of armor for now. I'm going to say, because I do want this mech to be durable. If it's going to be getting into the middle of battle, if it's going to be doing melee, it needs to be tough, right? So I'm going to put as much armor as I can. If I put 11.5 tons of armor on, I already did that calculation. 11.5 times 16 gives me 184 points of armor to work with. Okay? Here on the space table, you can put a 0 because it's standard armor. If it was ferrofibrous, it takes up more slots. For example, clan ferrofibrous takes up 7 internal slots. Inner sphere takes up 14 internal slots, and I don't have the slots. I'm running low on slots, and then I won't have any left for. I only have 14 slots left. So if I took up 7 with clan ferrofibrous, leaving me with 7, I'd hardly have any space left to put any weapons or anything on. So I'm definitely sticking with standard. 184 points. Now, this brings us to the armor table. My total armor is going to be 184. I can put that there. You don't need to put that there. Head is the easiest. It gets a maximum of 9. Always put 9 on the head. Regardless of tonnage of your mech always gets 3 internal head structure, 9 external head structure. Now, if I had my max armor, if I had 185, which is my max armor, this would be really, really easy. All I need to do is double the amount of internal structure, and then I know how much I can put on my center torso, for example. So the maximum I would be able to put on is 18 times 2, which is 36. That gets split between the front and the back. I almost have 100% armor. I have 184 of 185. So I can make this actually really easy on myself. I'm going to say we'll put max armor on the center torso, which would be 36. All right. Now you have to decide how you want to divide that up. And one calculation I enjoy for that, right? I think you should put about 75% of the armor on the front and 25% on the back. That's fairly standard. So if I had 36 points of armor on my center torso, which is what I could do, and I multiply that by 0.75, that's 75%. 75% of 36 points is 27. So that's what I'm going to put on the front center torso. I should write center torso front there, but the other one is CT back. So I'll put 27 points on the front, and I said 36, leaving me with 9 points to put on the back. I can already just say, since I'm only missing 1 point from my full, I'll take it off from the center torso back. That's a nice, easy place to put it. So if I put 8 points on my center torso back instead of 9, then I can simply go and double the rest of all these, and then I'll have exactly 184 points. Another way, you can just double all of these, see how much you have in the end, and then, take one away, or if you don't have enough, if you doubled them, then you would have enough. But it can be a little fiddly. So each torso, the left and right torso, gets 13. But they also have front and backs, just like the center torso. And so 13 times 2 is 26. That's the max amount of armor I can put on my left torso, is 26. I want to know how much is going to go on the front, how much is going to go on the back. I'm going to take 26 times not 0.0, 0.75. And that's going to be 19.5. I'm going to round that up to 20. Okay, so I get 26 in total. I'll put 20 on the front, and that will be for both torsos, left and right, and I'll put 6 on the back of each. Okay, easy enough. I can put on my arms, I can just put the max armor I'm allowed. 9 times 2 is 18, so the left arm gets 18, the right arm gets 18. And I can do the exact same thing for the legs. 13 times 2 is 26, so I can put 26 and 26, and that's going to give me 184 points of armor exactly. I know I kind of blew through that kind of quickly, but if you don't understand it, well, go read it more clearly in the book, and then I hope that you can understand how to put armor. The basics are the maximum armor you can put on any one location is going to be double the amount you have in that location in your internal structure, right? You got to remember that for the center torso, you have to split that number between the front and the back, and you have to do that for the left and right torso also, okay? And you just, fill it out as best you can, try to get close to the number, then take a point off here, a point off there, to fiddle around until you get exactly the points of armor that you're going to get on your mech, right? So that's armor. Add armor. Determine weight of armor. Allocate armor points. Done. Next step. Install weapons and equipment. Add weapons and other gear to the battle mech. Okay. Installing, adding equipment. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this. There's so many things you can put. There's huge tables. They start on page 341. And you want to go to page 341 to start looking at the tables, what kind of things you can put on. If you have an inner sphere only mech, you can only take from the inner sphere heavy weapons and equipment tables. If you're a clan mech only, you can only take from the clan mech heavy weapons and equipment tables. If you're mixed, like me, you can take as you please. So, I already know, I've already built this mech, I already know what I'm going to put on him. I'm not going to take a whole bunch of time. I'll just talk about the tables for a second. The tables have a lot more information than you need. They have the heat, they have the damage, they have the range for each one. They also include tonnage, ammo, how much ammo per ton you are going to get if you take this weapon. Then it has the weight, in how much does that weapon weigh, and then the space. This is where it gets a little complicated. You have M, P, CV, SV, F, SC, and DS. These are all different types of vehicles, and this is how much space it will take up in whatever vehicle you're building. We're building a mech, so we go under the M column to find out how much space that weapon is going to take. For the weight, that doesn't change depending on what kind of vehicle you put it on. Heat is something I record. In this table here, I don't even have one for damage. It's not actually important. Heat is important because that's going to tell you how much heat. That's going to tell you how much heat you're building up if you fire all your weapons at once, and you can go back, add more heat sinks, take away heat sinks, so on and so forth. So, what am I going to be putting on this? I know I'm going to be putting a hatchet on this mech. The hatchet calculation, I'll go over the hatchet calculation quickly if I can find hatchet. The hatchet calculation is actually on page 220. Go back there. Hatchet calculation. Hatchet calculation is mech's tonnage divided by 15, rounding up to the nearest whole number. And that's going to give you both the weight and the critical slots, which will both be the same. So it's a very easy calculation. My mech is 55 tons divided by 15. It's going to be 3.6 rounded up to 4. So my hatchet weight is going to be 4. The space it takes up is going to be 4. Heat, 0. Hatchets do nothing. This is one of the reasons I needed to do an inner sphere mixed, because clan mechs don't get hatchets. They can't use hatchets on purely clan mechs, nor can they use triple strength Myanmar. So this needed to be a mixed inner sphere to get all of the cool clan tech and inner sphere mixed, which I think is awesome. And the best part about the whole Ill Clan era. Sorry, I need to get back to the weapons tables. I'm going to be putting the rest of my weapons are going to be clan, and I'm going to be putting clan. Actually, I'll just shorten that to CL. Large pulse laser. The clan large pulse laser weighs 6 tons and takes up 2 slots. So it weighs 6 tons, takes up 2 slots, and it does 10 heat. I am going to be putting on 3 clan medium pulse lasers. I'm going to give them each their own slot, because then it'll be easier to calculate it all at the bottom. Medium pulse lasers. I love the pulse lasers. They're going to be super effective on this mech because it'll be jumping around a lot, which will give it, it's a +3 to hit if you jump. The -2 from the pulse lasers is really going to save it in this case. Pulse lasers have the negative effect of being hotter, I think, than, let's see, a large pulse laser does 10. What about just, they don't even, the clan doesn't even have large lasers. They only have large pulse lasers, don't they? Well, it does 10 heat, but I think a large laser also does. No, I think a large laser from the inner sphere does 8 heat, doesn't it? Large laser does 8 damage and 8 heat. Okay, but since I'm using this triple strength Myanmar, and triple strength Myanmar is all about heat, I like these pulse lasers on my mech. Sorry, I'm getting a little off track, and I've lost medium pulse lasers. Medium pulse lasers do take up 2 tons each and 1 slot. So it's going to be 2 and 1, and they each do 4. And I want 3 of these, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to paste and paste 3 clan medium pulse lasers. Equipment space is already 9, and weight is already 16. Oh, I forgot to put it. The heat sinks. No. Well, that's not important now. Equipment. I'm just going to see 16. And what did I say? 9. Oops, 9. Seeing. Okay, so I still got 5 slots left. I've still got 2.5 tons of equipment, and I'm going to be putting on 2 ER small lasers. Clan ER small laser. I want all lasers because I want this thing to be able to get hot. ER small laser. It takes up in tons 0.5. It takes up 1 critical slot, and it does 2 heat, I believe. ER small laser does 2 heat and 5 damage. And I want another one, another clan ER small laser. I could have just 0.5, 1, and 2. I have that's 11, so I can put in my new numbers here. I can change that. See how close I'm getting. That's 11, and this is going to be 17 weight. So that's an extra ton. See how close I'm getting. How much I have left. 17. So I have 1.5 tons available. and ER small lasers. I don't like that large S. What else can I put? Oh, I can put on a clan. I have 3 spaces left. I have 1.5 tons. If I put on a clan small laser, I know I said I did this all before, but I'm having a little trouble remembering exactly what I put on there. No, it would be a small pulse laser. Small pulse laser. It weighs 1 and takes up 1 critical slot. And it does small pulse laser 2 heat. Yes, and I remember, so that I still have 0.5 tons left to work with. I still have a slot left, I believe, or even more. I can put these numbers in here, but I know what I want, and that is going to be a clan micro pulse laser. You see a theme here? This is 0.5 tons. It takes up 1 critical slot, and it does 1 heat. And the reason I actually really want this micro pulse laser on this mech is for that 1 heat. When you have triple strength Myanmar, it's important to get to 9 heat and to stay at 9 heat. Stay exactly at 9 heat. You know, I can't start losing heat each turn. Every turn after I get to 9 heat, I have to stay at 9 heat exactly, or if I go above, I start getting penalties. If I go below 9 heat, my triple strength Myanmar turns off, and I don't get any of the benefits from it. And I don't want that at all. And having this micro pulse laser that can do 1 heat, and you can just shoot it anytime at anything. You can shoot it at a tree if you feel like it, just to get, because it might not be in range of anything. You can still shoot it. Just to be able to manage the heat of my mech with triple strength Myanmar. I've got really good. So I've got, ones that do 2 heat, I've got 4 heat, and one that does 10 heat. And that's going to allow me to basically figure out how many weapons I can shoot to stay at exactly. It's going to make it easier to stay at exactly 9 heat. Now, the last thing, basically, before we're finished, is the heat sinks. And I said I would just say 10 and 20. Now that I know all of my equipment, first we got to put all of the numbers in. My equipment weight isn't 11 anymore. It's going to be 18.5 space. Wait, I put that on the wrong. I put that on the wrong table. That's the weight. The space is going to be 13. And that's going to mean I have 77 out of 78 spaces used in total. The weight isn't going to be 17. It's going to be 18. 54.5. I'm missing something. I'm missing something that's going to. I'm going to have to do something, which is go over to my cheat, Mega Mech, where it actually is, and I'm missing something. 3 multi pulse lasers, 1 large pulse laser, 1 small pulse laser, 2 ER small pulse lasers, and a hatchet. Comes to 6, 12, 13, 14. 0.5, 18.5, 18.5. I didn't put in. I just put I didn't put in the right number. I'm dumb. I should look at my equipment weight here. That's all the weight, and put in the proper number, 18.5, which brings me to a nice even 55, which misses that. And that's very important. If you're building a mech, you want to use every bit of weight possible. It's not nearly as important to use every space available to you, and I've made a lot of mechs that have a lot more space left over at the end. This one is much less. You need this to be exact. You want that, otherwise you're just wasting weight, right? And yeah, that brings me to the end of doing everything by hand. Check the step 1 we did, 2.1, 3. So weapons and equipment, I just did that. Do your heat sinks, right? It mentions the heat sinks, right? You can. If I keep this here, this number is dependent on me having 10 heat sinks, so I'm going to keep 10 heat sinks. And I actually noticed something really nice. This number over here, 29, that is the total heat if I use all my weapons, comes to 29. My heating, I can cool 20 per round. You think, that's terrible. Your heating is terrible. You gotta remember, I'm using triple strength Myanmar. I need my heat to be able to get up to 9. So this actually means if I stand still and shoot all my weapons, I can get up to that 9 heat. Right? And if I run, then I just don't fire an ER small laser that round. If I jump, it's going to create 4 or 3, and I can, decide which weapons to fire to keep me at the heat I need. For the triple strength Myanmar, it's really a big advantage to have more heat than you can sink. It is possible to shut. If you're using triple strength Myanmar, I'm going into triple strength Myanmar too much, but I do like it. It is complicated. It is possible, if you don't have enough firepower to get to the right heat, to shut off your heat sinks, but that becomes quite finicky because you can only shut off the heat sinks the round before for the next round, and that means you basically have to decide what kind of movement you want to do before, or why have heat sinks that you're going to shut off in the middle of battle if they're taking up space or weight anyways, right? So I keep to the minimum amount of heat sinks for this and can do a lot of damage. Anytime I am at 0 and I need my TSM to start, I can fire every single one of my weapons and get that TSM bonus. Yeah. And I'm really happy with this mech. And maybe you saw, I have Mega Mech open here. I'm using it to cheat. I am using it to cheat. I use Mega Mech a lot. I do like doing it by hand. I find doing stuff by hand like this fun, and it's interesting to see and understand some of the equations behind Mega Mech, why it's doing it like that. I have a rule in my house: if my son, my 11-year-old son, wants to build a mech that we're going to use officially in a game, if you want it to be official, you have to do it by hand, and that's actually made him sit down at the table and do math, essentially math homework for 2 hours straight on a Saturday morning. So it can be really useful if your kids are into building stuff like this, like my son really is. He'll sit down and just do this math for hours trying to figure out the best mech, and then he can use that mech in the game. So my mech's finished. I've got everything I want. This step's going to take you a lot longer. I knew everything that I wanted, and I did it all before. Take your time to think about what you want, how you fit that with weight and the space, right? But yeah, then you should be basically finished, and the last step on my little cheat sheet here says complete the record sheet. And this will give you all the information you need, except for where you're going to assign all of these critical slots. Actuators are set, and cockpit is set, and engine and gyro are set, but a lot of the other things, all of these pulse lasers, need to go somewhere, and you're going to have to figure out where to get that, put that. You can get yourself a blank piece of paper and fill it out by hand. Absolutely, that's possible. It's going to have things already on the blank record sheet. Will already have the cockpit in it, and then it'll cause you, so if you chose a small cockpit, for example, you're going to have to cross out or white out one of the sensors there. If you took extra light engine, you're going to have to add extra engine slots in both side torsos for whatever size engine. All the rules for doing that is in the book. I'm not going to get into that book, because for this step, complete the record sheet, what that means for me is take all this information, open up Mega Mech Lab, put it in there, and it will print me a really nice PDF of this mech. And that's what I've already done. I had it done even before I started this video. And I put everything in. You can see it's in the year. Oh, I said it was 3151. That's what I wanted. I said it was going to be not Ogun Mark II. It is called the Ogun. It is kind of the second version of this mech, but I like this version better, so I'm going to kind of scrap the original Ogun, and this is the original Ogun. OG, oh, that's an M. It's supposed to be an N. Can put your model number, right? And if you don't know how to use Mega Mech Lab, it's so easy. You basically just, I said I want mixed inner sphere, so you slide down mixed inner sphere. You wanted a biped, base type. You don't want it to be an industrial or a LAM or a quad V. And I'm not going to teach you how to use Mega Mech Lab right now. There are plenty of good tutorials on how to use Mega Mech Lab, but it's really intuitive, and it's going to tell you all the stuff. So, for example, my total tonnage, once I put everything from my spreadsheet, all this information into here, I was right. I did all the math right. It's 55 tons. It has 77 out of 78 criticals. And then, yeah, this is the easiest way to do it. You can come over to the table and assign criticals wherever you want to put them. Actually, I did want to say something about criticals and where to assign them, kind of a tip. And for that, it's going to be easiest if I just use this. I'm going to do it over here in the right torso. I'm going to take all this stuff out. I can leave the endosteel. Yeah, I'll leave the endosteel. It doesn't matter. I'm going to take a couple things over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Let's imagine for a second you got a situation like this. It also might be that you have a bunch of endosteel here, or even triple strength Myanmar here. But let's imagine you've set up your right torso in such a way, okay? And what I'm going to be talking about is how to assign your stuff to tables to give you the smallest chance of hitting something critical. So for this example, in my right torso, I have two things that I really want to protect the most. That's the engine. I don't want these engines to be hit. And depending on how things are placed in this table can actually make a pretty big difference to the chance that this engine is going to be hit. So if you know what it looks like on the record sheet, in the critical slot, the right torso is split into two different tables. You have the first 6, and then you have the second 6. The way the crits work, you roll 1d6 to see whether or not you land on this table or this table. Then you roll 1d6 again to find the exact slot that you hit. So if I were to, if this isn't, this isn't how important to me now because my mech is different, but let's say you have something along the lines of this. Triple Strength Myanmar Endosteel are roll agains. You can't hit these. Triple Strength and Endosteel are roll agains. So these might as well be empty slots. It makes no difference when you're putting your crits in whether it has Endosteel. If you roll Endosteel, it's going to be a roll again. So in this situation, I have everything put onto the top table of the right torso crits, and essentially the second table is completely empty. Even if it has Endosteel, these are roll agains. You can't hit these in crits. So what's the percentage chance that I'm going to hit the engine in this situation? Now, the engine takes up 2 slots out of 6 in this table. So it has a 2 in 6 chance, which comes out to exactly 33% chance of being hit on this table. Okay? If this table is hit, it has a 33% chance. In this situation, when this table is completely empty like this, you have a 100% chance of hitting on the top table. So it doesn't change at all. If it is set up like this and I get a crit on my right torso, there is a 33% chance that it will hit the engine, since the entire second half of the table is empty. You disregard the first roll. Don't even do it. You'd only roll on this first table, meaning you get a 100% chance to roll on this table. So what happens if I simply took one medium pulse laser and moved it down to the second table? Now it's on the second table. First we calculate what's the chance that it's going to get hit now. It's since this one is now empty and can't be hit, there's only 5 things in this top table that can be hit. 2 of them are engine. 2 out of 5 chance is a 40% chance that that's worse than 33%. It has a 40% chance of getting hit if this table is hit, if you hit the top table. However, having something on the medium table means that the first roll does get done. There's something to hit here. I first need to figure out which table it's going to be on. That's only 50-50. So you have a 50% chance of hitting the top table or a 50% chance of hitting the bottom table. If you take that 50% chance into account, that 40% chance of the engine getting hit in a crit actually goes down to a 20% chance of this engine getting hit. So this would be the best solution to the crit, to protecting against one crit, right? Your first crit. Because it's very likely, there's a 50% chance that this medium pulse laser is going to get hit, since it's the only thing on that table. If you roll that second table, there's no need to roll which slot. You know that medium pulse laser is gone. If that's the case, on the second crit, then you're at a 40% chance, right? We could change it again. We can take that small pulse laser and bring it down to the second table. Now what's the chances? On the top table, you only have 4 slots that can be hit. 2 of them are engine. That gives you a 50%, but combined with the 50% chance of rolling that table in the first place, it's still actually only a 25% chance of the engine getting hit on any one crit. So a 75% chance that you're not going to get an engine crit. if it's set up in this manner, which is still better than the 33% chance that we had if everything was on the top table. Okay, and this also will, if you get a crit and there's a 50% chance, let's say one of these taken off, right? For the second crit, it's still only 25%. Nothing's changed up here. This can still, you still have to roll to see which table you're going to be on, right? So putting that medium pulse laser and that small pulse laser will give you, it'll be a slightly higher chance that the engine will get hit than if you put that small pulse laser here. If this is the case, then this engine only gets 20% chance of getting hit. But after your first crit, that could change. Doing it like this is going to maybe save you from getting a second crit on your right torso. You know, but that's as far as I plan. If you're got 2 crits on a torso, you're getting close to the end of that mech's life anyways. You can only do so much in rearranging your weapons to protect critical things. The more things you have on your mech that can take up criticals, so the more weapons, the more jump jets, the more heat sinks that you have, is going to protect your critical slots slightly. But I wouldn't go designing a mech. You know, if that was your end goal of protecting the criticals, the best mech would have like 20 small lasers all over it or something like that, or you would put in way too many jump jets or more heat sinks than you need just to soak up criticals, and that's not a good idea. You shouldn't be designing a mech with the idea of protecting the criticals. You should design the mech and try to arrange the weapons in such a way that you're going to be protecting your the really essential things, so the engines, the gyros, as much as possible. What that also means is, even though it makes a very small difference, if these 2 slots are empty on the center torso, you have a 100% chance of getting either an engine or a gyro hit. Terrible crits that really cripple your mech. Putting 2 things here, or 1 thing that takes up 2 slots, it's not going to, it's not going to make a huge difference, but sometimes you'll actually just get a small laser crit, and that's so much better than getting an engine crit. In this situation here, there's a 2 in 12 chance of getting hit, I believe, or what would it be? No, it would be a 33% on this table. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it would be a 33% chance on this table, meaning by putting 2 things here, it gives you, there's a 16% chance approximately that one of these are going to get hit over these, meaning that it goes from 100% to something like 84% chance that when you get a crit on the center torso, it's not going to save you all the time or even most of the time, but I always like putting things here. Same goes for this empty slot in the head. Without it, you're 100% sure that you're going to hit something really bad. With it, it's not 100% anymore. If once in a while that micropulse laser gets hit, that's a huge bonus. So I do like to fill up those slots to protect those those really critical engines and gyros and cockpits and so on. And that's all I'm going to say about where to put things on your Mech. And I would totally suggest downloading Mech Lab and putting it on like this. It's a lot better than writing everything in and erasing things and so on and so forth. And if you don't know about Mech Lab and what you can do, once you get your Mech is all finished, you can say validate unit, unallocated. Oh yeah, right. Ha ha ha. Assign criticals. If you haven't assigned all of the criticals, it's not a valid unit. So I'm just going to press autofill. This isn't how. Oh, I can't put those there, right? Yeah. This and that there. This isn't how it was set up before. I don't think. I don't remember exactly how it was, but just to show you. So now if I hit validate unit, validation passed because tonnage is right, criticals is within 78. Heat doesn't matter. It's not invalid if you create a mech that can do more heat than it can sink. So it's valid, and you simply say export to PDF, current unit, click on that. It's going to ask you where you want to put that. I've already done it, and I can show you the nice record sheet that this will. I think I saved it as the Ogun Mark II. I'll change that name. And it will print you out a really nice record sheet when everything will be correct. You know, it even takes into account, for example, that my walking speed is 5.8, but when the triple strength Myanmar is activated, my walking speed will go up to 6.9. Mech Lab is really phenomenal. If you don't know about it, go use that to print out your PDFs, your record sheets. And from this, I can just print it and use it in a game, however I like. Yeah, and that's my final finished mech. One thing Mech Lab doesn't do is tell me that the hatchet will actually do 22 points of damage once the triple strength Myanmar is activated. But I know that, so that's not important. So I hope you learned something, maybe. Now you know how to do a mech by hand. Yeah, I hope you had fun and enjoyed yourself, whatever. And come back next time to see my next video about building something, probably, or maybe we'll do another battle report. Anyways, I'll see you then. Bye-bye.